Folks, this is Apocalypse 6 with another Color Loam video. So I don't have game 1 because I wasn't recording it, but basically we're playing against a, I guess, non-traditional mud deck. My opponent basically killed me with Ugin last game. We got him down to like 3 or 4 life. And then my opponent went Sunring Titan, Ugin, Platinum Empyrean, and I died. And these are the playable cards. So Scavenging Ooze is not great. These are cards we definitely want. Marin, I guess, is a maybe. It helps us fight against larger creatures. Gadok Teague is really questionable. There are, of course, cards like, well, there's the Opposing Chalice, there's the Ugin, we saw a Coercive Portal, so there actually is enough stuff. My usual plan against this deck is to bring all of these cards in to deny them mana. I'm not feeling like doing that because I have this more robust mid-range plan now. Let's see if that ends up biting me in the ass. We're going to take out one Green Sun, one Punishing Fire because it hits basically just the middle.
Your game has started.
It's a matchup I haven't played in quite a while, and it's always a slightly different deck with Mud. So the upside of this deck, of this hand, is I get to play a Sylvan Library and or a Bob. The downside is there's 2 Mox Diamonds, neither of which I'm using, so I'm just going to mulligan. This is effectively a 5-card hand anyway. This is, I guess, better. I'm not a huge fan of it because it's slow. And we're going to for sure bottom that. So generally the strategy that I choose to enact against Mud is to mulligan to, well, Wastelands are really good against them, so that's a high value target. And Thalia as well. They can be fairly reliant on cards like Grim Monolith to get them up to their cards that cost like more than 6 mana. But in the interest of testing, I want to bring in all these anti-mid-range cards and see if I can just deal with their threats as they come, because we used to not have any way to deal with cards like Sundering Titan, but now we have access to Swords of Plowshares, which might make this way more of a playable mid-range game. Excellent. So we basically never want to give them more than 3 mana to work with. So Wastelanding is top priority, which then means we're only playing Bob here. Getting Night Out is also super great and all, but we can wait until we have no wastelands left. Hopefully these two blobs draw us into 3 wastelands or 2 loams. That's 5 cards we get to see. There's also a couple redraws in there. At this point, any removal spell would also be okay. Oh, right, I forgot about the Lightning Greaves. So basically they're going to be able to dump their hand this turn. Right? Come on, so far so good. Chalice. Oh, okay, so there's nothing good in here. Chalice on 3. Interesting. So that happens to be really good against our hand right now, but Marin does beat it. And there's absolutely nothing in my opponent's hand, just mana. So what we can do now is we can get we could get a Marin, which means any like 3 deaths of a creature would allow us to reanimate Knight. That's one way that we can work Knight onto the table, or we can proactively tutor out Usali Pride Mage, which is what I'm going to do right now. Whoa, that would not be advisable. We're going to wait one more turn to do this, otherwise it gets countered. I think we have to end up showing our opponent the Zenith anyway, but that's not the end of the world. Our opponent, I guess, has nothing. Perhaps they have an Ugin. That would be the worst case scenario. A card that they couldn't reveal to Metalworker and couldn't cast with 6 mana. I wonder what's getting Chalice now. 1. So I guess the opponent saw the Green Sun, and that changed their decision or informed their decision about Chalice, which is great because that's not how that card works. Ooh, there's entirely too many cards in our hand. So we have the option of getting the last Knight, and or any of these things freely. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a Reclamation Sage. We don't care about these 2 things because my opponent already has infinite mana, but we do want to unlock the 3 Knights in our hand. This game seems to be going pretty well for us. Another land drop means there's still 1 mystery card in the opponent's hand. Oh no, no mystery cards. That was the card we didn't see 2 turns ago, because the other 2 cards are Grim Monoliths. And the opponent's keeping the Grim Monoliths because they're +1 mana to play, and they're +2 mana in the hand. So I'm just going to go ahead and run all of my creatures into my opponent's Metalworker. I'm fine trading. If we trade the Metalworker and use the Wasteland, we can get my opponent down to 4 mana, which May or may not matter. Opponent did not block, which means that we. In that case, what I want to do is play a knight and play the Sylvan Library so that we can search for, that we can try to find a Punishing Fire just in case the opponent is able to answer everything else. Maybe there's an argument for Get Out Teague because the cards that get my opponent out of this are Ugin. Ugin would be really good on this board. But so would something like Wormcoil Engine, probably. I haven't done the math. Ooh, that's okay. All right, yeah, that's pretty bad for us. I don't know if we can even lose from this position. My opponent's at 2 life. I'm going to go ahead and play Sylvan Library. Then I'm going to play Get Out Teague. If my opponent targets, or if my opponent uses Ugin on Get Out Teague, I'm just going to bounce him with Caracas. My opponent's likely going to minus, in which case I'll bounce the Get Out Teague. And then I have 2 draws to just end the game on the spot next turn. This might not be the most efficient thing I can be doing. Right, so like I could, there's a bunch of, well, enough lands in my graveyard. After this minus, I could follow up with a knight. I could have not played the Teague, but I do want to make my opponent use some sort of resource. Targeting, right. Force my opponent to use some sort of resource. And all I'm giving up for it is the ability to draw a card efficiently on my opponent's turn. Right, so that's exactly the card I was sort of playing around. If I had just, I don't know, cast a Life from the Loam instead, my opponent could play that and then just like plus this. Or minus. I don't know. Either way, it's kind of fine. So I'm going to shuffle away this Marin because there aren't any creatures in my graveyard. But, let's see. My opponent's Ugin is at 6 loyalty. I'm going to spend 4 mana to blow up this Coercive Portal. And then, I'm not sure what happens after that. I think I just wasteland him. Not that it matters in the slightest. So I'm drawing, my outs are 2 of. I could instead loam every turn, but maybe I should be doing that. Either way, on my opponent's end step, I'm drawing with Horizon Canopy. I wonder if the Metal Ring is attacking. Yeah, it is. Or is it? I think my opponent fears a haste creature, which it's potentially reasonable to play a haste creature if a good one were to exist for this deck. That's not a good draw. Yes, please. Okay. That's not great. The ultimate for this is at 10, so we get another turn for sure. I wonder what I can do here. So let's put this back and put that back. No, no. So I don't actually have a grove, so even if I get the thing in the library in the graveyard, that's not that helpful to me. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to play knight, because that can't easily be plussed away. I'm going to keep up Abrupt Decay. Not entirely sure why yet. I mean, I might find a target later. I also want to. So if my opponent minuses the Ugin, I die slower, which gives me more time to draw my out. What is X? -3. That makes a bunch of sense. And then on... So he didn't attack with the Metal Worker, which means that... I don't know. So I do have 1-drops in the deck. There's really no point to blow this up. I have to blow up the Lightning Greaves before I can touch the Metal Worker. So I'm just not going to do anything here. Actually, why not? I'll get the Dryad Arbor. It's not an actual threat because of Wasteland anyway. And I do need to shuffle. Next turn, I think I'm just playing out Knight again. So I could say, so I have 3 mana committed to Knight. I can spend 2 more mana to get some lands and have Horizon Canopy as an option. So let me go ahead and do that. Any creature that my opponent draws just kills me, by the way, because of Lightning Greaves. Actually, maybe that's a good reason to decay the Lightning Greaves. Yeah. How about I'll cast Life from Loam, targeting these 3 lands, paying 1/2, and then I'll hold up Horizon Canopy and Above the King. I'm not playing particularly well today. Yes, I haven't noticed. My defense, I've had a long day at work. Okay, so what's happening here? -X, permanent, it's 1 or more colors. Yeah, that's fine. We can't do anything about that. And then now we draw a card. And we don't dredge. Okay. Now there is in fact a creature in the graveyard, and a pretty good one at that. Now the choice to dredge gets more interesting, because I could flip over a creature into my graveyard, but I also don't want to take my Marin. The opponent does not have enough loyalty on the Ugin to keep answering all my cards. It's actually been a pretty interesting game. There's a lot of decisions I haven't had to make for a while. Again, I'm like a little stuck with this. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to cast Mox Diamond, throwing away Wasteland, because I'm so beyond needing a Wasteland. I'm going to spend the 5 mana, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to keep up Abrupt Decay. So I'm not going to be able to keep up Caracas. But that's fine. Excellent. And there's only 1 creature left in my deck. 2 creatures. Yep, that's totally fine. I have I have this Source of Plowshares for if I need to gain life. Okay, cancel skip. I can't allow this card to resolve. If it resolves, my opponent attaches Lightning Greaves to it and gets something really large that kills me immediately. So I'm going to fetch. And get a value. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to blow up the Lightning Greaves. And then I'm going to use the Pride Mage to blow up the Cold-Author Forge Master, which clears the path for my Marin to kill my opponent. Yeah, and yes, my opponent just doing things because they're possible at this point. they've for sure like seen the line. They just probably want to make me play it out. This is this saves time, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. Wow. So these things are good in theory. This thing, I guess, has been good the past 2 games, but in general, it should not be. I think I'm gonna keep it as is. Perhaps my opponent actually didn't.
Your game has started.
See my winning line, which is interesting information. We are keeping this. This is really good. We have 2 wastelands to harass our opponent's opening, and we get a Death Ray Shaman, so we can on the draw wasteland, play Mox Diamond, discard Taiga, play Death Ray Shaman. Then we can wasteland and then play a 2-drop if we draw it. Excellent. Wow, that's really good. There's some chance my opponent might want to provide some color commentary over the next couple of turns, so I'm just going to leave that open. I'm not going to discard this Thespian stage, because if everything goes particularly poorly, I could cobble together a win with it. This is the first Glimmer Post we've seen out of the opponent. Not that they wouldn't be playing it. Interesting. But we have our 3 lands. There's not much reason to show more. And it's extremely hard for our opponent to beat this opening. It's just wasteland every single turn forever, and we can play up to 3 mana worth of things. So I think it's wasteland and then get a Pride Mage to start winning the game. There's probably an argument for waiting for 1 more mana, or maybe not wastelanding here, or maybe just waiting a little bit to get knight. But there are certain explosive draws my opponent could have with an Ancient Tomb into like the Monolith or whatever. Alright, so that seems to have been enough. It was certainly had to be. Anyway, thanks for watching.